talk about the reality triangle, which I'm sure everyone has heard of. This is the reality triangle. We have three things. You can have high quality, you can have it done in a short time frame, or you can have it done at low cost. The old adage is that you can have two of those three at most, but you can never have three. And that was back in the old days. Now, WebApps, I think, have changed that, and there is the capability to actually have all three, I think. So today we're going to talk a little bit about WebApps and how they've revolutionized the way web projects are run, and how they've revolutionized the way in which people interact with web designers and can become web designers relatively easily. I mean, I don't think that we're ever going to see the end of web designer developers, but I do think that the role of the web designer in today's age is definitely changing. Okay, so web applications, what are they? They are quite simply web-based software applications. They usually replace expensive installed software, or they automate offline processes. They usually tend to rely on volume sales for income or advertising. And the whole concept behind a web app is build it once and sell it over and over again. So let's take, for example, a content management system. In the old days, sometimes people would develop a bespoke content management system that would be just for their organization. It would be created by a team of developers. No one would ever outside of that organization have access to what they had built and created. And 9 times out of 10, no one ever outside of that organization would be able to understand how the heck that thing was put together. And 9 times out of 10, whenever they got a new CEO, they would say, we don't want this website anymore, what do we do? And they'd have to start over from scratch. Web apps are designed specifically for reuse and for volume licensing. The real great thing about web applications is they almost always are designed to remove the technical barrier to entry. So if we're talking about a web-based application that is a project management product, before web-based apps, you would probably have to use Visio or MS Project, and you'd generate all of these fancy schmancy Gantt charts, and you'd go on a training course that was paid for by your company. You'd spend a half a day or 3 hours or sometimes even 2 weeks in a classroom learning how to use the quirky Microsoft thing. And then you would create these documents that no one would ever be able to open on their computer anyway unless they had Microsoft Project installed. Well, web apps are designed to completely turn that on its head. And they're designed so that anyone can, without having all of that training, easily access and understand all of the things that you need to do with that particular application. And the real benefit is that you're able to do it all from any web browser. So you are not downloading and installing anything. The days of the installed software, I think, are quite limited. You can access all of your files, do anything that you need to do from anywhere in the world on any computer. It does not have to be your computer anymore. Here is a very large collection of web apps, and I guarantee that everyone in this room has used a web app in your lifetime, whether you realize it or not. There are web apps to do everything, and I use them almost exclusively to run my business. I use a web application called FreshBooks to manage my accounting and issue my invoices and automatically issue reminders to people when they're late paying me. I use it to track my time and enter things into a project management tool. And these days, more and more web apps are sort of cross-pollinating, if you will. So you might have a project management application that you use, then you might have a desktop collaboration application, and then you might also have an invoicing tool. And these days, very often, they will all talk to each other, and you will very easily be able to transfer your data back and forth between them. So that's quite handy. Not all of them do that, but it is quite handy when they do. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the web project lifecycle. So before web applications, you very often had to have a team of specialists working with you on a web project. And the first person that you would have would usually be a project manager. And there are a few of you in the room here today, and I was one of you in the past. or it could be someone like an account manager who works for a design agency. And usually they are responsible for sourcing and coordinating your suppliers, such as the web agency, hosting, provider. They may help you research and choose a content management system. They may also coordinate copywriting and content prep. So that could be working with in-house people to write the copy, or they could be working with an outsourced copywriter or an agency copywriter. And there may even be an information architect involved who helps you organize the structure of your website. And their key role is there's usually client-agency liaison. So someone who's talking to the business and who's talking to the agency and making sure that everybody's speaking the same language. As far as design goes, you would have a web designer. You may also have a graphic designer. That person would create or source the logos and graphics, usually using an installed product like Adobe Illustrator, which costs several £100s. They may also source photography from a stock agency like Getty Images, which would cost between £50 and several £1,000s for each image. And they would also be creating the web mockups in Adobe Photoshop, again, which is specialist skills and specialist software. And as far as the design process goes, they would take feedback from the client, they'd tweak the Photoshop mockups, give it back to the client would say, I don't like green, they take it back, remock it up, change it from green to blue, give it back to the client would say, I don't like blue, they take it back, and so on and so forth. So repeat as necessary this final step. Now once the design is finally signed off, which can take forever, especially if we have several people involved in the design process, they would then usually hand over to a web developer who would take the take the Photoshop mockup, slice it up into chunks. Those chunks could then fit into HTML pages. They would then code the pages or templates, possibly to fit an expensive content management system. They would then test the code to make sure it's all cross-browser compliant. Let's hope that they would do that. Sometimes they don't do that, which is very annoying. And either they or perhaps their assistant would then take the text content and image content and chunk it into the template, and voila, we have the pages. So there may also be a specialist technical developer. For example, if you have any online forms or e-commerce shopping carts or other functionality that you need, that could either be bespoke developed or to fit into a CMS. If you're using an enterprise CMS, sometimes you would contact someone from that company and have them develop these special modules for you, and so on and so forth. And 9 times out of 10, if you wanted to have video or other rich media on your site, you would be advised to upgrade your hosting so that you could provide streaming or whatever it was that you needed to do from your own server. So as you can see, there's a huge number of people, all with very specialized skills, that were involved in the whole project. And then if you wanted to make any changes, God forbid you want to make any changes, usually the client would tell the project manager would tell the agency would tell the designer or the developer to implement it, then the client would have to approve it. If it wasn't